Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today I've got a problem. My wonderful 1962 Dunhill Shell Briar pipe is looking a little bedraggled. There's a lot of cake buildup in the bowl. The finish is looking a little dull and worn. The stem has lots of oxidation, is looking really dull and lifeless. There are a few tooth marks. In general, it just needs to be cleaned up, it needs to be freshened up, and I think today I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I have several tools and products that I'm going to use to try to get this pipe looking fresh and new again, and I think we're just going to turn the camera around. We're going to start out, I think I'll start with reaming the pipe out, getting all that cake out of the bowl, or a lot of that cake out of the bowl. We may do something about the airway. We're going to see about buffing out this stem, and at the end we're going to polish it all up, and I'll show you how it looks. Okay, first things first, we need to ream out the bowl. There is far too much cake building up in there, and we need to get it out. We need to open up that chamber a little bit. So what we are going to use is this. It is a set of pipe reamers. I can't remember where I got this. I think I may have gotten it off of Amazon. I may have gotten it off of eBay. We have several different sizes here, along with the handle. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a little container like this so we can catch what we do. What you do is just size up the bowl. This is the smallest one I have right now. And that fits easily into the bowl, so that's a little too small. I'll try the next size up. This one looks like it may be a little better, so I'm getting a little bit of resistance. I'm going to use this one first, and then if I need to size up again, I will. So I take the handle, put it on the reamer, and I take the pipe. I'm going to actually move this out of the way for now. Maybe I'll just put down a paper towel. All right, here we go. You just keep going. You go nice and straight. You want to make sure you're not at an angle. And then you very slowly and very carefully start reaming the bowl. You don't want to put too much pressure on. You don't want to go too hard. And every once in a while, you'll take your container, and you'll dump some of that cake into that container. Check your work fairly regularly. And just make sure you don't go too far. You don't want to be getting into the wood in the side of the bowl, and you don't want to get into the heel and start scraping out wood. You just want to be taking off cake. Okay, I've been checking my work as I go. I'm pretty happy with the smaller size. I have moved up to a larger size now. This is the second largest. This is as big as I'm going to go. I'm just going to clean it out a little bit more. Just remember that the sides of the bowl are not completely parallel. There's a gradation there. And so if you start with the really big one first, you're going to end up eating into the side of the bowl. So you just want to slowly work your way up. Start with the smallest size that actually makes any sort of difference, and then if you need to, you can move up to the bigger ones. So I'm just going to use this one a little bit, and then I think I will be happy with the reaming I have done. All right, I think I'm pretty happy. Let me just check. Yeah. I'm thinking that looks pretty good. Let's see if I can get the light in there for you to see a little bit. Probably going to blow it out with the exposure. So you want to remove the cake because too much cake can actually cause too much pressure on the bowl. It can actually cause your bowl to crack. You want a bit of cake to protect the virgin wood, but too much is a problem. So you need to ream your pipes every once in a while. I'm happy with that. We're going to move on to something else now. Now, I don't think the airway is too bad in this. I don't think it's too restricted, but I am going to take a normal size pipe cleaner. Now that I've reamed the bowl out, it's a good idea just to shove it in there, get any of the powdered cake that you had in there. Take it out. Just get the pipe as clean as you can. Now, if I want to, I can take the stem off. That could use a little bit of cleaning. And I'm just going to take a look inside. And it looks like I could really get in there and clean out the shank. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but there is a bit of residue in there. And what I'm also going to do is take this. Now be very careful if you're going to be doing something like this. What I have here is a set with a handle and then a 5/32 drill bit on the end. This is the right size for this pipe. If you're going to do this, if you want to clean out your airway, now occasionally you're going to end up, as you smoke the pipe, you're going to get tar, you're going to get oils, they're going to build up in there. Even if you're using a pipe cleaner, occasionally you may want to use something like this to clean out that airway. What you don't want to do is drill through wood. So you need to be very careful. You don't want to force it. So I'm just going to very slowly and very carefully place the end of this drill bit, and I'm going to very slowly and very carefully move it. And I'm looking inside to see when I reach the end. This is when my flashlight would be useful. Not there yet. Very carefully. Don't force it. And still not quite there. If you hear a crunching sound, that's not good. Okay, I think we're breaking through here. We are. So there's a good amount of tar and extra cake and everything. If I can show that to you. Maybe you can see in there. But then, if you've gotten through, you've cleared your airway, you just back it up. Slowly and carefully. And you can see a lot of the residue on the tip of this thing. That's what we're getting out of that shank. And I'm just going to run a pipe cleaner through there again, and then I might take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and put it on the inside of this shank and use a pipe cleaner or a paper towel or something and get out a little bit more of that residue. Now this is what my pipe cleaner looks like after putting a little alcohol on the end and rubbing it up and down inside that shank. Nasty. I'm going to try a little bit more, and then I think we'll have this cleaned out enough for my liking. Just make sure you don't get alcohol on the finish of the pipe, because that will take the finish off. Still getting quite a bit of stuff off that, but I think that's probably clean enough. Let me just take a look with my light. Yeah, that is 1,000 times better. And then I'm just going to rub a pipe cleaner through here one more time to sop up any of that extra alcohol, and then of course you're not going to want to smoke this pipe for a while. Give it several days to completely dry out, because that will not taste good. All right, I'd say the stummel is pretty good. We're going to put this to the side. We'll probably put some wax on it at the end, shine it up a little bit, but for now we need to deal with the stem, and the stem is pretty nasty. So I have a little container of water here. I have my stem. I have some 800 grit sandpaper. And then I also have a little bit of 1000. And then I've got these buffing pads that are actually made for fountain pen nibs, but they go from 1500 all the way up to 12,000. We're not going to need to get that crazy with it. But the orange one is a 1500, and then we may even get to the 24, which is, let's see, where is that one? It is black. And this one here, So those are the two buffing pads we may use to finish it off. And then at the very end, I may even use some liquid polish. Ideally, I'd be using a buffing wheel and some buffing compound for this. I don't have access to this right now. And then it'd be really nice to be able to finish it off with some carnauba wax on a buffing wheel. But for now, we're just gonna have to make do with what we've got. I'm going to cut off a piece of this sandpaper. A piece about that size, but I'm not going to actually sand this stem without it being attached to the pipe. You want to be careful of that, because if you do, you could sand the stem down and then end up going far too deep, and then you'd have a ridge between the shank and the stem. So what I'm actually going to do is take some of this blue tape and I'm going to wrap it around the shank, not very thick, and then that will give me a little bit of a buffer when I'm sanding. Put the stem back on, and now I'm going to sand. I don't need to sand really too much up around here anyway, because it's not too oxidized. It's mostly just down towards the tip of the stem. I'm going to do a wet sand. So I'm going to take a little bit of this water, just get it on the sandpaper, and then we're going to focus on the areas where the corrosion is the worst. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you don't sand over the button and just rub that nub completely off. If you're going to be sanding near the button, you want to sand like this, so you're coming right up to the barrier of the button. So I'm going to work on this for a little bit with the 800, and then we'll see where we are. Okay, I think I've gotten most of the corrosion off there. Might need to work on this little part of the stem a little bit more, and then I'm going to switch to the 1000 grit, and I'm just going to keep going up from there. I'll do wet sanding, just sanding it down. You can see how dull it looks right now, and eventually we'll get that shine back. So let me start working on that. All right, gang, so I think I'm just about done with the stem. I'm actually finishing it off with a Peterson silver polishing cloth. I got this for use on some of my Peterson pipes that had silver accents on them. And you can see now that it's looking pretty shiny, not bad. There's still just a tiny bit of corrosion, or not corrosion, a tiny bit of oxidation here and there, but ideally I'd be using a buffing wheel with buffing compound, and I just don't have the time to really get too crazy with this, but it's a lot shinier. Most of the oxidation is gone. I ended up going all the way up to a 6000 pad. I started with 800 sandpaper, then went to 1000, then I went to the 1500 polishing pad, then I went up to a 2400, then a 3600, and then a 6000. And that's what we're left with there. I'm going to put some polish on this afterwards. We've got both halcyon wax and we have paragon wax. These are each for a smooth finish or a rusticated finish. And that's how we're going to finish up this little tutorial here. If I can get the tape off of the stummel, or off the shank here. I've actually got residue. You can see there from when I was sanding, it's the oxidation coming off that vulcanite. It smells horrible. But anyway, we're going to get a microfiber cloth. I'm going to apply wax to both of these, and we're going to wax them both up, and then I'll show you how the pipe looks at the end. All right, gang, we are almost finished. We have reamed out the stummel, got the bowl nice and clear, got rid of a lot of that cake. We have opened up the airway a little bit, cleaned out the shank with some alcohol as well. We have taken the stem and sanded down most of the corrosion, and then with increasingly fine grits of sandpaper and polishing pads, we have gotten it up to a fairly good shine, and we're almost done. The last thing we're going to do is use some wax. We have here some halcyon wax, and we also have paragon wax. Paragon wax is good for the smooth finishes or smooth surfaces. Halcyon is good for rusticated finishes. what I will do is just take a little bit of this halcyon first. You can see the consistency there. I'm just going to get a little bit on the finger, and I'm going to dab it around on this pipe. This is the halcyon wax for rough finish or rusticated finish pipes. And this will just shine it up a little bit and protect it a little bit. I'm just going to make sure I cover all the surfaces with this. Maybe get a little bit more. Get it on the nomenclature there. All right, now I'm going to put this aside for a few minutes, and then, now I'm covered in wax, hold on. We will use a little bit of the Paragon wax on the stem. There are all sorts of different things you could use on the stem. Like I said, ideally, I'd be doing all this cleaning and polishing with a buffing wheel. You can use polishing compound with the buffing wheel on the stem, and that'll really get it clean. And then it would be great to have some carnauba wax and use a buffing wheel to put that on the stem and on the actual stummel. But like I said, I don't have access to that right now. So I'm just going to use some of this wax, which works pretty well if you don't have a buffing wheel, and I don't think most of us do. So we're just going to cover the stem with this, get it all over the button. And then in a few minutes' time, once it's just slightly solidified on the surfaces, we are going to polish this out with a microfiber cloth. All right, things are starting to feel a little tacky, so it is time now to rub them out. All right, there's the stummel. Looking pretty shiny, looking pretty nice. We will put that aside and we will work on the stem. All right, not bad at all. But there's one more thing, actually two more things we have to do before this pipe is completely ready. The stem is a little bit loose when I put it in the shank. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of beeswax here, and I am going to use my cloth because I just got this nice and shiny. And I'm just going to rub a little beeswax on the end of the stem. And then I'm going to insert the stem into the shank. And there you go. Nice and tight, but not too tight. And there she is. I think that looks pretty good. Oh, wait a minute. The last thing, the thing that always pisses everybody off, I'm going to use one of these. These are the BJ Long Soft Live Rubber Pipe Bits. I put them on my pipes because I like how they feel. If I don't have them on my pipes, it hurts my teeth to clench my pipe. That did not actually open it. Some people get very irritated by this. They think that you should not put a pipe bit on your pipe because it ruins the pipe. Well, not actually physically ruining the pipe. It protects the pipe. It protects the stem from tooth marks, but they think it ruins the aesthetics of the pipe. They think it ruins how it feels when you smoke it. I would rather not break my teeth. So that's why I use these. You smoke your pipe your way, I'll smoke it my way. I cannot clench a pipe without pain unless I have one of these on. So that is the finishing touch, if I can shove it on there. A brand new pipe bit and a fairly shiny, fairly nice looking 1962 Dunhill Shell Briar pipe. Hopefully you found this useful. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.